As you've been hearing right here on KNX, former LA City Council member Jose Huizar now sentenced to 13 years in federal prison for corruption while in office. Huizar, convicted of taking at least $1.5 million in bribes from real estate developers looking to have their projects approved by the City Council. With us now for more on the sentencing today is Neama Rahmani, president of West Coast Trial Lawyers. She's a former federal prosecutor and former director of enforcement at the LA City Ethics Commission. Neama, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, as always.
First of all, prosecutors wanted 13 years. Huizar's attorneys asked for close to that, 9 years. Are you in any way surprised the judge went for the full 13?
Oh, I'm not at all surprised Judge Walter sentenced Huizar to the 13 because, generally speaking, district judges do go with the government's recommendation. And here you're talking about a public servant who took all sorts of bribes, right? And I mean, from the gamut of escorts, casino trips, private planes, hotel rooms. I mean, this is really a black eye for anyone who's a public servant, who's a government official. Let's not forget, judges themselves are making a lot less money than they could have if they're in private practice. They're not taking bribes, so they're not going to look kindly on this type of behavior.
Is this sentence in any way unusual for a political corruption case?
It really is. I mean, I wouldn't say political corruption is unusual in the city of Los Angeles, but the way it was prosecuted, we're talking about a RICO prosecution. And obviously, that's getting a lot of headlines because of Trump in Atlanta. But RICO was historically used for criminal enterprises, the mob, cartels, street gangs. But now you're talking about elected officials and their underlings being part of a criminal enterprise. So the fact that Huizar pled guilty to RICO and tax evasion charges, that is surprising.
Now, Huizar sent a letter to the judge apologizing, asked for leniency. It didn't seem to work, obviously. Might this have been a case of the judge trying to send a message to other political leaders?
I think so. Judges are ordinary people, and this is a very high-profile case. It's being watched not just here in Southern California, but all over the country. So, judges know that they need to send a message, especially to elected officials, that this type of behavior is not only illegal, it's a federal crime, and you're going to go away for a significant period of time if you do it.
What made this situation, Jose Huizar's situation, worse than other political corruption cases?
Well, really, it's the extent of the bribe, right? We're talking about $1.5 million at least. And under the federal sentencing guidelines, it's a point-based system. And whenever you're dealing with a fraud or a bribe or any type of financial crime, the advisory sentence, what the judge looks to, is really based on the amount of the fraud. And for those legal nerds who are listening, that $1.5 million bribe amount, that's a plus 16 enhancement under the guidelines. So that's significant time.
We're speaking with Neama Rahmani. He is a former federal prosecutor. Let me ask you this. George Esparza, former Huizar aide, who apparently transported liquor boxes that were full of cash, is awaiting sentencing on a racketeering charge. Is it likely he would face a stiff sentence as well?
I think so. So under the RICO or any type of conspiracy statutes, if you are involved in either the conspiracy or the corrupt organization, even if you just are involved in a part of it, you are substantively liable or responsible for all the criminal acts and furtherance of the organization. So even an underling, even a co-defendant or co-conspirator, they're on the hook for the full amount of the bribe. Now, judges obviously aren't going to sentence those lower level folks as much as Huizar, but I wouldn't be surprised if anyone else who's caught up in this gets significant time in federal prison.
All right, Neama, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Again, we've been speaking with Neama Rahmani, former federal prosecutor, former director of enforcement at the LA City Ethics Commission.